Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I was trying to wait for the people in the back to get inside. Welcome. I'm Cynthia Chestnut. We wanted to provide a venue for you with more than 30 chairs. And I think we have achieved that. I would first like to start with welcoming you to Mount Pleasant United Methodist Church, but we'll have the official welcome from our pastor. This is my home church, and Pastor Michael Frazier Sr.
Thank you, Commissioner Chestnut. Let me welcome you on behalf of our Mount Pleasant family, who has had a significant imprint in this community for more than 150 years. And so we welcome you. If you're not familiar with our campus, I just want you to know that the restrooms are immediately to your left through this door, so you can access them. Also, if you continue to walk, there's a water fountain down the hall. So make yourself at home. You can take your shoes off, let your hair down, but we welcome you. Thank you.
Now, he's kidding about those shoes because he won't allow us to do anything. Thank you, thank you. Each year, each city commissioner has the opportunity to have a town hall meeting. I think Commissioner Duncan Walker had one in the spring on the police department and things she wanted to do there. David Ariola had one a few, I think midsummer, on the same topic, on exclusionary zoning. So after listening to people, because I am a district-wide commissioner and the whole city is my district, I wanted to have a meeting on something that reached all of the citizens. And I must say, this topic has taken over the campaign for city commission. This is all that anybody is talking about in town. And I wanted you to have the opportunity to sit, have an opportunity to ask your questions, and to be heard. Now, I'm not going to hold you to a 3-minute limit, but if you start giving a dissertation, I'm going to have to stand up. But we want you to feel comfortable in asking your questions. Staff may not be able to answer everything. They can answer factually. They cannot give their opinion. If you want an opinion, ask me. I have lots of them. But don't put them in that bind. So what we're going to have, it has been advertised so that each city commissioner is able to attend, and hopefully I think we'll have some of them here. Now I'd like to start by introducing our charter officers and our city staff. They're in the choir stand. I'll start with City Manager Cynthia Curry, whose was it your grandfather?
My granddad.
Her grandfather was the pastor of this church. Yes, some years ago. Our city clerk, Michelle Gainey. Our city attorney, I saw him somewhere, Dan Nee. Our GRU director, Tony Cunningham. Our equity and inclusion charter officer, Zariah Folston. My executive assistant, Jertoya, Jertoya Russell. And I believe we have some candidates here and some elected officials. So let me start with the elected officials first. From the County Commission, we have Ken Cornell. I don't know if we have any other elected officials. Now, I'd like for the candidates to stand and introduce themselves. Please, we'll start with Don. He's on the front row.
Hi, I'm Don Shuckett, and I'm running for mayor.
Okay,
Your pupil representative.
thank you.
I'm Mike Graver, and I'm running for City Commission District 2.
Thank you. Gary?
I'm Gary Gordon, I'm running for mayor.
Okay, good.
The name is District 3.
Preston?
Prescott Fools, for school board, District 5.
Very good.
Sarah Rockwell, running for school board District 3.
Okay. Good, good, good. Okay. Now, I think that's everyone. I want to talk a little bit about what we have in the back for you and some information. At the close of the meeting, we'll go down the ramp, and there will be refreshments in the fellowship hall. And there's another set of bathrooms there. On the tables will be a bag from GRU, and in this bag are many, many just little gems. First is a directory and resource guide, and so if you happen to miss this, please call the city because it gives you all of the important numbers that you want to call. For your trash to be picked up, if it's missed, the number is here. You don't have to look for it. Housing, the city commission number, the bus RTS number, but all of the numbers are here ready for you. So that's in the back. We'll have, yesterday at church, I talked about the LEAP program briefly, and we're going to have a presentation on LEAP. What else did I forget? We're going to have a presentation on LEAP, and there's applications for LEAP here in the, sit right there, here in the packet. Okay, now I'm going to, what else I want to put on here? Now I'd like for the city, before I move on, I'll introduce our state representative, Yvonne Hayes Henson, who's also a member of this church. Stand up. And before I go further, I'll have the city manager to come up, and she's going to give us some information. Thank you. Oh, you're quite welcome.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening. As the commissioner mentioned, I'm Cynthia Curry, and I'm city manager. I've been on board since November 15th. I feel like it's been at least 3 years already, but it's only been about 7 or 8 months. When I came in November, affordable housing was clearly on the agenda of the commission. Actually, back in August of 2020, the commission passed a multi-part motion that included many elements to address affordable housing in our community. One of the items amongst that list included exclusionary zoning and inclusionary zoning. The city had hired a consultant, HNR&A, to come in and provide information that would be benchmarked against how affordable housing is happening around the country. And as that has been concluded, we realize that there are not many communities, if any communities, who have actually instituted this as a part of their land use and zoning programming. And so we here in Gainesville are on the cutting edge. That consulting report was concluded in January of 2022. Of course, information was parlayed to the planning board. The planning board reviewed it. They provided their recommendations to the commission along with staffs. Since that time, we've had alternate items to amend those recommendations. It is that alternate item, alternate ordinance that was actually approved by the commission last Thursday, August 4th. That item, along with the companion zoning item, will be reviewed again by the commission once the state actually reviews what has been transmitted to them. That item will probably be transmitted later this week. We want to make sure that everything is in order before it is transmitted to the state, but it will be transmitted to the state. They will review it, and once that review is complete, it will come back to the city, and the city will then be charged with the responsibility of advertising again for a second reading. So it was approved last Thursday on first reading. That is just a first step. We still have some realms to go before that item is actually approved. It has to go to a second reading before the commission. At that point, changes could be made, maybe not, but it is at a first reading stage right now. It still has a review before the state, before it comes back to the commission, and they take a look at it again to decide if, in fact, that is where they want to go for a final item. Mr. Andrew Persons, who is the director of the Department of Sustainable Development, is here this evening. Andrew just recently joined my staff, and so Andrew is the individual from the department or from the city that will at least go through a PowerPoint presentation that gives some explanation for exclusionary zoning, pros and cons. And with that, Andrew, hopefully you won't get too many tomatoes tonight. I'll try to protect you with my pink on. It won't look too good. I'm hoping they'll be kind to you, but it's on you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. So my name is Andrew Persons. I work in the city manager's office, and I also oversee the Department of Sustainable Development. I am going to talk a little bit about the actual ordinances that the City Commission moved forward at their last meeting, and I'll hopefully try to keep it relatively brief, and so we can get to any questions you might have. So hopefully this clicker works. There we go. So to start with, I'm going to talk about the different aspects of the ordinances. As the city manager indicated, there were actually 3 ordinances that the City Commission considered and voted on last week. As the city manager indicated, the City Commission had commissioned a study by a consultant, HR&A Advisors, to evaluate the city's land development code and rules to essentially identify what provisions may have an exclusionary element in our existing rules. Hopefully can everybody see that? No. Yeah. Are there copies out there?
Maybe let's stop for a minute. If you don't have a copy, you want to raise your hand. We have more copies.
We're going to wait.
Thank you. So we may have to share. We have so many here, we're going to have to lunch.
Can I send y'all copies of the minutes, if you don't mind?
All right. So we're happy to also provide the presentation afterwards for anyone who'd like a copy. So one of the questions that we hear is sort of what is exclusionary zoning when that term sort of is used. In part of the analysis that the consultants did was looking at exclusionary zoning and in a certain framework. And what they did was they looked at what types of regulations either directly decrease or limit housing supply in residential areas. So that's the type and form of housing, the potentially regulations that may increase the cost to build new housing, and then the third, to limit the use of existing housing. So all of those things taken together really affect the dynamic of the type, location, and supply of housing in Gainesville. So those things are, when the city talks about exclusionary zoning, it's within those sort of 3 categories. Things that limit the supply of housing, things that increase the cost to build new housing, and regulations that limit the use of existing housing. So in order to implement the findings from the study, there's been those 3 ordinances that we talked about. The first is a land use ordinance. This is changing the land use, and this is a map that is virtually illegible, but it is a land, if you can picture it in your mind's eye, this is a map of all of the single-family land use that we have in Gainesville. This land use category only allows for the building of one single-family home per lot, basically. And so what the commission adopted was changing that category, that land use, from single-family to an existing land use category called residential low density. And residential low density allows for single-family homes, but it also allows for other types of multifamily housing. Smaller types of multifamily housing like duplexes, triplexes, and quadruplexes. So that single-family land use is going away and is being replaced by residential low-density land use. Right, recommended, absolutely. The next piece is the zoning. And so I just talked a little bit about the land use, and if you think about land use and zoning, they're really very close to each other. And so I won't get into the minutia of what the difference in land use and zoning is, but you can think of them sort of as a pair. If you change one, you typically change the other. So the zoning is also being changed from, essentially we have 4 single-family zoning districts in the city, residential single-family 1 through 4. And those are all being collapsed, changed to a new zoning district called neighborhood residential, which allows for the same types of single-family homes, but would also allow for duplexes, triplexes, and quadruplexes in those zoning districts that previously only allowed for one detached single-family home. We also, this is a map showing essentially the breakdown by quadrant of the city and the single-family zoning that we have. So real briefly, in the northwest section of Gainesville, there's about 65% of all the single-family zone property is all located within northwest Gainesville. In northeast Gainesville, about 16% of all the city's single-family zoning is located. In the southeast, it's 11%, and in the southwest, it's 8%. So going sort of down in order in terms of where the most is, it's in the northwest, the next is northeast, the third is southeast, and then the fourth is southwest. I can get into the acreage numbers, but I'll spare you on that. So as I mentioned, what is changing in zoning? Zoning is changing in those 4 zoning districts, residential single-family 1 through 4, to neighborhood residential. And the main difference is the uses are changing. So for previously in residential single-family 1 through 4, you could only build one single-family home per lot. In the new neighborhood residential zoning district, you will be able to also build duplexes, triplexes, and quadruplexes. That is a change in the use that is occurring between the old zoning and the new zoning. The next few slides, we talk a little bit about some of the dimensional standards that are changing, things like setbacks and lot sizes. In the city of Gainesville, every zoning district basically has a set of setbacks where you can't put a house or a structure within that area. We also have different zoning districts that require a minimum amount of land to build or a minimum width or depth of any buildable lot. So in residential single-family 1, which is our most restrictive, if you will, zoning district, residential zoning district, you have to set your home back 20 feet from the front, 20 feet from the back, 7.5 feet on either side, to the left and to the right. We have an existing zoning district called residential conservation, which is in a lot of our close-in neighborhoods. A lot of Pleasant Street, where we are right now, has residential conservation zoning. And that zoning district also has setbacks. They're a little bit different. So you have to set your home back 10 feet in residential conservation, 20 feet in the rear, 5 feet on either side. So what is proposed with the new zoning district, the neighborhood residential zoning district, which if you remember will replace the residential single family 1 through 4, the setbacks are 10 feet in the front, 10 feet in the back, and 5 feet on the sides. Does that make sense to everybody? Oh, well, does it? You understand. The next thing I'm going to talk about is a little bit about the site dimensions. As I mentioned, setbacks are just one aspect of how lots are regulated. Residential single-family 1 zoning, which again is the most restrictive, you have to have 8,500 square feet in order to have a buildable lot. You have to have 85 feet of width along your front of your property. So, your property has to be 85 feet wide, 90 feet deep, and it has to be a minimum of 8,500 square feet to be buildable. In residential conservation, which you remember is the zoning district that's in Pleasant Street, that lot size is 3,000 square feet. The minimum width for a single-family home is 35 feet. And if you have a 2-family home, because in residential conservation you can build duplexes as well as single family, you have to have 70 feet width. There's no depth requirement in residential conservation. So in the new zoning district, the neighborhood residential, you would have 3,000 square feet, which would be your minimum amount of land. There would be no depth requirement, and the minimum width would be 35 feet, and that would be for homes, duplexes, triplexes, quadruplexes, anything basically in terms of the type of housing. And then finally, density. And density is basically an expression of how many homes can be built on any given acre of land. It's what the state and what the city uses to as a regulatory aspect. So residential single family 1, you can kind of see it here. This is again the most restrictive. You can build basically 3.5 homes per acre. Residential single family 4, which is again a little bit more intense, a little bit more development potential. You can build 8 units per acre. Neighborhood residential, which is the new zoning district, is going to match the density for residential conservation, which is 12 units per acre. So that's the density for the new zoning district, neighborhood residential. It's 12 units per acre. There are some additional elements to the ordinances that I'll kind of go into now. So the first is about basically the guidelines to regulate these types of new small multifamily homes that are being allowed in this new proposal. So the city is adopting, in addition to the zoning, they'll also adopt design requirements that will come with these new structures. Perhaps the most significant one is that there's a 2-story height limit that's been proposed with this. So those structures can't be taller than 2 stories. There's some additional requirements that they have to have front-facing doors, and they have to basically be designed so that they try to fit in essentially with existing neighborhoods that may be made up of predominantly or exclusively single-family homes. So those are design requirements that would be applied when a building permit came into the city. Those would be reviewed against that building permit and would be applied at the time of development. The next aspect of the commission's action was on occupancy and bedroom limits. Both of those are basically going away under the new proposed ordinance. The alternate version that the city manager talked about has occupancy limits, which are currently in place for properties that are zoned residential single family 1, 2, 3, and 4, and RC. Those are going away. So there will no longer be a 3 unrelated persons limitation. So basically, you can have more than 3 unrelated people living together in a house. There's another aspect called the bedroom limit, and that applies within the large area of the city, which essentially sets, when we're talking about that density I mentioned before, the number of units, 12 units per acre. There's also a bedroom count that comes along with that. And that has been something that the city put in place back in 2017. And that is also proposed to be struck through. So essentially, there will not be a bedroom limit per the unit, the density that's going to be applied here. There's also some changes to design and compatibility standards. Currently, the city's code requires a masonry wall to be built between multifamily and single-family property. That is being struck from the code. There's also some additional lot and subdivision requirements that are being, those are mostly cleanup or housekeeping. They're fairly mild and benign. But there is an additional amendment that the commission included, which essentially would allow for subdivisions to happen not on a public or private street. Currently, if somebody is going to subdivide property in the city, like basically create a lot, you have to have that lot has to front or has to sit on either a public street or a private street. And so something that the county did about 2.5 years ago is they created a new type of subdivision called a cottage-style subdivision. And in those, you can basically create your lots around a common open space or common green. So like in these pictures, you can see these houses in these pictures actually front on some common green space rather than on a street. And so that is another aspect of the code changes that the commission considered last week. So finally, I promise this is my last slide. What comes next? The city manager talked about it, but essentially the next steps are the city commission approved the changes on August 4th. We're preparing the transmittal package, which will go up to the State Department of Economic Opportunity. They have a statutory 30-day review time. We also have been tasked with reviewing and providing some analysis on the sunset provision. If you were at the meeting or you were watching, the commission included some requirement that staff bring back an analysis on potentially sunsetting these changes within a 3 to 5 year time frame. So we've been asked, along with the city attorney's office, to bring back some analysis on that, including any proposed economic impact from that. We anticipate the ordinances would come back to the city commission probably in early October at this point. That's probably the time frame that they would come back. And then they wouldn't become effective or adopted until the commission took its second vote at that time. And because it's first reading, second reading, these ordinances need two votes essentially to pass. And so that is my presentation, and I'm happy to answer questions or have tomatoes or what have you.
Thank you. Okay. All right. All right, wait 1 second. What we're going to do with questions is have you give your name, if you know your district, if you would please give the district you're in, and then your question. And I think we will bring the microphones out to you. I think the first one, Monica, your hand was up first.
So,
Give your name and your district, please.
Monica Frazier. I don't know the number.
You're in
right
District
offhand.
1. You are in
Okay.
District 1.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, the analysis, that's what it was. The analysis for the sunset, how long will it take for you to complete that? Will that be done before it comes back on the second reading? Will we have any idea about that?
At this point, I don't know. It is something that we will be working on, and it certainly, I don't think would take particularly long, but I would probably defer to either the city manager or the city attorney for timetable. But it is something that we need to bring back in terms of analysis that the commission asked for.
Okay, and I think that we have a sheet that we we gave to you, passed out to you. Let me have yours. Yes, this is the sheet, and if you didn't get it, we can, you can call the city commission tomorrow and they'll make copies for you. But this gives you the timeline for a comprehensive plan amendment. So if you don't have it, you'll be able to get it there. Okay. Thank you. All right. It was over here. Give your name.
I'm sorry, there's a young lady standing with the microphone.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Hi, Celia Chapman, District 1. You're talking about a sunset provision here? I thought Commissioner Sacco suggested that and it was turned down. Why is now back on the table?
The final motion incorporated bringing back a staff analysis of the sunset provision, as well as the potential economic impact of that. So it was included. It wasn't part of the ordinance, but it wasn't. The commission did request staff to bring back that analysis.
Thank you. All right, Deb, where's the microphone that I can take? Okay, I'll take this one.
I've got one too, if you want
Okay,
to walk around.
over here, this gentleman. All right, thank you.
I understand the priority is to create affordable housing. If this
Would you
proposal...
give your name, please?
Oh, Khalid Blount, I live in District 1.
Thank you.
If this proposal does allow multifamily units in what were formerly single-family districts, I don't see anything in it that stops the builder of those from charging $1,500 for a one-bedroom apartment. Well, how do we know? What's to say it's going to be affordable just because those multifamily units happen?
Well, we can't, really, I don't think. You can't. All right, may I have a microphone? Thank you. Okay, thank you. All right. You were next. Okay. Give your name.
My name is Dale Mickley. I live in Forest Ridge. I do not know my district number.
I think you are District 4? No,
Is it
no,
4?
District 4?
Okay.
Thank you.
My question, it was a three-part question, but you did answer one of the answers about rental units, that, there are restrictions,
Put your
I'm
mic
sorry.
up. Hold your
There-
mic up.
Okay. That there are restrictions with 3 non-members living in a rental, so that's being thrown out. But my other question of that is, a lot of neighborhoods have neighborhood associations or homeowners associations that are governed by the state bylaws about parking on the grass, parking on the street, garbage containers, and so forth. What happens with that? That has not been addressed yet, that I haven't heard anything yet.
Is that do you have another question?
No, that's part of all of it.
Oh, okay, good.
There you go.
Yeah. So I can address the question about the. Were you gonna? I
Thank
can
you.
also talk about it.
Yes, I've been a realtor here since 1985. So you're protected with what the city is trying to do if you have an HOA, because you're going against the deed restrictions of that subdivision.
Right.
So, yes.
Right. So.
Maybe that's true, but yesterday I was at a meeting where someone who was living, Heath Silberfeld, District 1, someone who lives in an HOA who said that their documents specifically say that the city regulations can override anything that is on their HOA. So I think, I respect your experience, but I think maybe some more research needs to be done just to ensure that that still remains accurate. And then I have a question later.
Yes, okay, the lady right there. Give your name and your district, please.
I'm Julie Johnson. I don't know which district, but I'm in coveted Sector 1 on your little map. I hope you guys are recording this. I'm going to have a couple quick questions, and then I'll turn it over. My history, I have over 20 years in design build industry. That's my job. So my questions are related to code. One thing, in your assessment, do you have any information or any studies on the impact of existing utilities when you convert single family to multifamily? You are going to put undue stress on those existing utilities, including sewage, and flood mitigation. Question number 2, did you do a roadway assessment and parking assessment? Question number 3, did you do an assessment with fire? If you build houses close together in dwellings, how quickly does a fire spread from one building to the next? And when you maximize the occupancy, how many more people will die when that happens?
So,
Do you have answers? I was going to say those are all questions that we need, great questions.
Sorry, repeat, what was your first part of your question? Sorry. Yeah, I know.
I told you to record it. I was asking if you did an assessment on the existing utilities when you go from single family to multi.
Right.
You're going from a single family home to possibly duplex, quad, and now you're putting a lot more stress on especially sewage systems, treatments, and in that zone that you guys want so much, we have a huge flooding issue. My house has been flooded multiple times, and my son is traumatized. And it's because of the development next door that did not do proper mitigation and take care of the retention ponds.
So in the city of Gainesville, we have development review regulations like stormwater, like utility infrastructure. Those are not typically, that level of detailed analysis is not usually what occurs at a zoning level. Those happen, those happen at development plan because we can't anticipate where these, we can't anticipate where development is going to occur, but those do get applied with development applications. So stormwater standards get applied. Utility infrastructure is analyzed and is part of the review process. So those things are met. They're just not met at this stage, basically.
But those are excellent questions, and perhaps we need to consider them earlier.
My name is Mark Zadra. I live in Florida Park. You spoke about density, but there was one density issue that doesn't seem to be addressed. When you have those 12 units, how many driveways, and where you assume 2 cars, maybe 3 in a household, where do you park those 24 cars related to one lot?
So the requirements, those design requirements, they do limit the development of those types of multifamily to one driveway, and it limits parking. Generally,
Wait. Let's listen. Let's just listen.
they will typically probably park on the street.
Okay. Don't shoot the messenger. Do not shoot the messenger. Yeah, that's fine.
And I did just want to clarify on the HOA question. So essentially, HOAs are civil agreements, civil documents that are made that are essentially, the city is not part of those. So essentially, if you have an HOA or deed restrictions that limit what can be built on your property or on your neighbor's property, those are still enforceable. The city doesn't enforce those, but the neighbors and the HOA would enforce that.
Hello. Okay, Carrie Parker Warren, and I'm in District 2, and I have a 3-part question, and my first one is, now that you have passed your ordinances on first reading, I'd like to know, when will the developers be able to begin submitting their application? I'll stand, and you can answer that, and I'll ask the other 2.
So not until the ordinances would be finally adopted, which wouldn't be until probably not until October at the earliest.
Okay, that answers both of my questions. If by chance someone submits their application and they submit it at an inappropriate time, when will you give them their applications? Will you return their applications and not hold it until future readings?
I think if I understand your question, I think, would we take in an application prior to the ordinance being finalized for something that wouldn't be allowed? No, we would not.
Okay, thank you. I have some others.
Okay, let's come back over to the question. Okay, who's standing? All right.
Yeah, my name is Anjana Dosa. I'm a resident of District 2.
Okay.
This plan that is presented, doesn't adequately address the personal vehicles, as some of the members here pointed out. I'm really concerned about it because just like you are allowing more occupants, I envision that there is more cars, and putting personal items on the street should not be acceptable because we are already increasing the traffic in the area. And what is the security of personal vehicles is my concern. How does city assure that?
How will the city assure what now?
How would city assure the security and, the monitoring of the personal vehicles if they are allowed to put outside? That's a security concern I have. And a traffic concern also.
Don, I think that's something we would have to review. I think part of the issue tonight is we will be gathering lots of information that we need to take under consideration. Lots of information. Yeah. So I don't think we can answer that for you at this point.
Correct. But I would appreciate the consideration in the final plan.
The consideration for police.
Yes.
Thank you.
And also if city can consider allowing how many parking spaces, if they can specify, just like they are specifying how many units, that would be better.
Very good point. Very good point. All right. Gary Gordon.
Just two quick statements and a question. First of all, I think the language of this entire discussion for the last 4 years has been skewed in favor of doing what they did. So we need to redefine it. It's not exclusionary zoning. It's protective of the American dream zoning. A single family home. It's not exclusionary. These categories here of proposed setbacks, that's really increasing the ground cover. So what you really got is proposed decreases of water into the aquifer. You're not protecting the aquifer. These site dimensions and the word density, it's not really density, it's crowding. It should be referred to as crowding. Now, second statement, the idea that you don't do an environmental review or a traffic review at the land use stage is backwards, because if the developer gets the permission to go ahead and do what they want to do, then they'll be able to say, you're taking this from me now that you said this, that, or the other thing. So that's got to be changed. Final question, actual question. I think this is on everybody's mind. And this may be a legal department one. Can the new commission, depending on who's elected, reverse this, and what will it take?
Okay, now may I answer that? May I answer that one? Because I think people are going to be, have to be very, very careful about who you vote for on August 23rd. You need to ask each person where they stand on this issue. I am committed to make a motion to rescind this in January. Now, at this point, there are two other commissioners who stand with me. That's Commissioner Desmond Duncan Walker and Commissioner Harvey Ward. But we need other. Is he here? Oh, okay. Okay. We need help. And we don't need any false help. We need honest, true, dedicated help. So you've got to ask people where they stand and be sure of where they stand. Pardon me? A pledge? Well, I think that whatever district you're in, I think that's something that you need to ask. Something you need to ask. But we don't need to elect people who are going to waffle on this issue. Well, I'm not running. But it should be. All right, let me see.
How you doing? My name is John Buzzy Calvins. I live in District 1. My address is 417 Northwest 7th Avenue. My question, well, it's a question. We're trying to generate affordable housing, and I was just wondering, is GRU in on this in any kind of way to try to facilitate? And the reason why I say that, because I build on the east side and in some of the neighborhoods, and to help facilitate a private builder, we need GRU to come in. It's really tough to pay the impact fees that HUD doesn't have to pay. I'd love to build houses in these neighborhoods and be able to sell them at a reasonable price, but that's one thing that puts us behind the 8 ball opposed to a nonprofit organization. But to give us a break with the impact fees and some of the things that the city can do will allow us to give a better product at a better price, because we can't compete with HUD. And I am for profit, but I'd love to be able to sell affordable houses. That will help quite a bit if GRU was down, and I don't see how they'd lose anything. We'll create a customer for life.
I think that issue came up at the August 4th meeting, and one that I think that the commission is very interested in looking into to see how we can work with GRU, because another builder from the east side brought up the same issue, that they could not afford the fee. It's tough. So
I'm really reluctant to loan the type of money that we need for the same house, because materials are expensive for everybody, but we're capped on that side of town just because of the dirt. It's not about the house, it's the dirt.
So I think it gets into an equity issue. It gets into an equity and inclusion issue that perhaps our charter officer will need to look into, and it also gets into a GRU issue. So that is something that we will take to the commission. I want to be sure I get your name, because when we bring this up for discussion at a general policy meeting, we'd like for you to be there.
I'll be there.
Okay, thank you. All right. Yes. Well, before I go to GRU, I've been joined by two other commissioners. Commissioner Desmond Duncan Walker, who's also a member of this church. And Commissioner Harvey Ward. Thank you. Well, dear heart, I introduced you. I introduced you at the beginning, remember? Okay. All right, we want to go to GRU question. Thank you. Now, while this is on exclusionary zoning, you can ask questions of any other area as well. So I think you have a question on GRU?
Yes, ma'am.
My question is, microphone.
I have a question for GRU. I was talking with one of my neighbors today complaining about my light bill at $400. Well, when I finished talking with her, I have no more complaints because her light bill was $800. She said it had doubled. So my question is, I've heard by way of the grapevine in Azalea Trails that the reason our utility bills are so high is because they don't have enough meter readers. So do we have somebody sitting downtown in an office guesstimating how much our light bills are? Well, think about it. And my question to you, sir, is that true? Are you all liking? Because I like to be a meter reader.
This is Tony Cunningham, our interim GRU manager.
Yeah, so thanks for the question. So a couple of things. Let me go back to the gentleman over here. There is a grant program called Connect Free. Excuse me. It's a city program that helps pay the connection charges for water and sewer connections. And so it's in the housing department at the city of Gainesville. And so that's someone that you can call if you're building affordable housing. It's money that's available for building new affordable housing homes. So there's criteria for that. I don't have it here, but I can provide you the number to call for that program. So back to
the meter readers.
Yeah, so the meter readers. Let me step back a little bit. I'm going to share a little bit more later. Understand this summer how hot it is. Fuel prices worldwide have gone up, which are a pass-through cost to our customers. And so I know that a lot of us are suffering with higher bills this summer. That's a very real thing that's happening. One aspect of that is what you mentioned, which is we do have a shortage of some of our meter readers, a lack of those readers, which has led to some longer billing cycles. So what that means is typically you would try to read your meter every 30 days or 31 days. So with a shortage of some of those meter readers, it has gone longer. And so we had a choice to make earlier this summer, which was to allow for those longer billing cycles, which has happened, or do what we call an estimated read. And what an estimated read is we look at your average use. So what we try to do is look at your average use, estimate what we think that typically would be, and then the next month we get an actual read and it's trued up to what you actually used over those 2 months. And so that was a choice. I will say it was a very difficult choice because the choice was either have longer billing cycles or estimate those reads. And so we've done that in a very limited area. It's only been several thousand customers that we've done that in, and we've tried to do that in a very limited amount and try to get the actual reads every month in most areas. But in those limited areas, we have had those estimated reads.
Okay, so Tony, if we have people here who are interested in being meter readers,
Absolutely.
How would they go about that?
Come see me afterwards because we are hiring. I approved 2 more people to be hired today. We are hiring meter readers almost a couple of weeks right, or a couple a week right now.
Yeah, but we
so
need more.
If you are interested, absolutely, please come see me. We are looking for folks that are willing to do that. And then I think you have a follow-up.
Okay, what about the rates? Because in Azalea Trails, we have, I don't want this to get out of this room, we have we have many widows in my community, and they live alone. And I live alone, nobody in my house but me, but my light bill is over $400. Now, I'm a senior citizen on a fixed income. And this is asinine. It is ridiculous. For I don't care how they do it. How do we know that they are guesstimating our light bill? Did y'all know that?
Okay, now do you have a question?
My question is about the rates. When do you all go up with our rates?
So let me answer the question. So our rates have an element called the fuel adjustment. So what happens is all utilities, the fuel it takes to generate power is something we buy in the market, and whatever the market charges, that's the charge that goes. GRU doesn't make any money off that. That's a charge that goes to the customer. So what's happened is since last summer, natural gas has tripled in price. And so with that tripling of that price, that charge is a charge that goes through to the customer. So that's happening.
Okay.
The other thing that's happening is we just did some analysis of bills. Essentially, people are we're all using a lot more power than we did last month or even last year at the similar time. And so with that increase in usage, the charges go up. And so I was just talking to somebody the other day, pulled out her bill, and she literally used twice as much in July than was used in June. So that extra power you're being charged for, and then the fuel cost that has gone up, the natural gas cost that has gone up, that's increasing more. So those two things
Tony.
are really driving that.
Okay, all right, one minute. One thing that you can do, because I had this done, my bill was $725. And I had an energy audit, which the department will come out and do and show you make some suggestions and tips on how you can reduce your bill. And I think they're going to talk about some of those later tonight as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, we've got questions. Tina, do you have a question? Okay.
I guess one question. I love GRU, and I get really rate stabilization.
Yes.
Can you do we have sufficient funding in rate stabilization to release money to cover the increase in fuel costs, the rise in fuel costs? That's the purpose of rate stabilization, so that we can levelize the cost to our customers, because fuel is a pass-through. And the reason we have rate stabilization in the electric system is so that we don't have these large spikes in bills. That's the first thing.
So there are two funds. So there's a rate stabilization fund, as Tina mentioned, and then there's a fuel levelization fund. The fuel levelization fund is the fund to add to the fuel as fuel prices go up to balance that cost. That fuel levelization fund is drawn down. There is no surplus in the fuel levelization fund. The rate stabilization fund, there's a possibility to try to move funds out of the rate stabilization. It's for a different purpose. Rate stabilization is more focused for if an emergency happens and we have funds available, one. Two is there's challenges with if you move it out of rate stabilization, you have to return taxes paid. So when rates, that comes from base rates. So rate stabilization comes from base rates, the fuel levelization fund comes from your fuel charges. And so if you do it out of your rate stabilization, you have a tax issue of returning those taxes if you're going to convert it. And essentially it would be like a loan that would require a base rate increase to refund it. And so it'd be challenging to pull that out of there, raise base rates to refund the rate stabilization and return the taxes. And so it's really focused on the fuel levelization. And again, that's been drawn down to try to minimize this impact already.
I think the rate stabilization issue is something that maybe we can look at the general policy level, because we do have funds there, and I think we can take that up. Now, I need to go to Ms. Bright, and then I'm going to the back row. Okay, I'll tell you what. Let's do it this way. Well, he's had the microphone. We'll give it back to him. Okay.
Yes. My name is Teresa Bright, and District 2. The problem is GRU. GRU have all these excuses. I'm going to call them excuses. We pay very large utility bills. Now, you don't have a program at GRU seriously that are going to help all the citizens in Gainesville. You just don't have it. You won't invite companies in, your solar companies in, the solar companies will change all this expensive utility that we pay. See? And you're probably, the solar that's in now, you're probably limiting those companies with the citizens of Gainesville. I've been told this by a solar company. Okay, so you don't want our utility bills lowered. You really don't want that. If you wanted those utility bills lowered, you would bring solar in because you're having a problem.
Now, do you have a question?
Yes. Allow the solar companies in. Don't limit them so that our bills we can apply to the solar company or create a. Okay.
We'll take that under consideration.
Okay.
Yes. No, I just have a couple of comments. My name is John Jones, and I live in the Robinson Heights subdivision, which just borders the city limit. But the comment I have, I'm sorry, the comment that I have, I was just listening to your presentation, and I'm trying to wrap my mind around what's going on, and it seems to me that what's going on is the same thing that's going on in the grocery stores. The loaf of bread has been cut in half, and the price has gone up. Because when you talk about the price, the dimensions of the property going from 20 feet, the front footage down to 10 feet, that's just a reduced loaf as far as I'm concerned. The other comment that I want to make is that when you remove the restrictions on the number of unrelated people living in a house, I think you are building a modern hippie commune. That's just my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Questions in the back. Jane? You need a microphone.
I have a mic. Can I ask a question?
Okay.
Mr.
Thank
Cunningham.
you, Commissioner Chestnut. Jane Berman Holtum, District 1. I have two questions on topic. The first one is to guess how many maximized bedrooms there could be. If you have 4 units per acre, we now have unlimited bedrooms, and we obviously have a footprint, but I estimate you could have could you have 60 bedrooms in an acre? I mean, if you have 4 bedrooms per unit, that would be 48 bedrooms. HUD allows 2 people per bedroom and 50 square foot per person. So you could actually end up with, I thought 96 people living in a 1 acre area that at one time would have 1 family. So I have extreme problems with what is not density, it's called crowding and slumming. So I have a problem with creating slums in this town at high prices. They're not going to be cheap, they're going to be high-cost rentals. So I want to ask Andrew Persons about that, the maximum you could have on 1 acre at this rule. The other issue is when you take an ordinance or a law, you have to have implementation plans the other end so it works. And my big issue is we threw out the Development Review Board. There hasn't been any meetings. The comprehensive plan threw it out. I think we need to have a very strong Development Review Board so every single structure to be planned goes through a Development Review Board where the citizens and neighbors get true input. Because I've been working on all of this for years and I find I get absolutely zero input. Because it's just, people present a plan, what I say has got nothing of importance, they don't care. So I would like a caring Development Review Board process built into this ordinance.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. That is also an issue that I think we need to bring to our General Policy Committee. We need to bring that back, the Development Review Board. We are taking notes. Now what I'm going to do is count off because people in the back have had their hands up and over here. So I think...
Hello.
Dean?
Yes. I'm ready.
Dean?
Yes, Dean Mims, District 4.
One basic question for starters, and I'll limit this. The ordinances that actually got approved, where are they? It was a very confusing set of attachments, and I still speak this language to some extent, and I can only imagine the person who has no background in this. So I think it's important to know right now what actually happened, and is there an easy place to go where something is so, oh, that's what the ordinance now looks like. It wasn't this alternative battle, it was this that got approved. That's going to Tallahassee for the comprehensive plan. This is what got approved for the rezoning, and this is what got approved, God help you to go through it, for the development review, the actual more detailed development regulations. So if that information is there, and if it's as soon as it's ready, it needs to be put in a really prominent place in the city's website. That's my first long question, then I got a short one.
Yes, so the alternate ordinances were part of the backup, and I think it's a good suggestion about putting that onto a more prominent place on the city's website.
So if that can be clear, like comprehensive plan, this is what's getting transmitted. Zoning, this is what happened. Land development regulations, this is what happened. Because to plow through that is going to test people's acumen and patience. And one more question. One question.
The alternate ordinance, I think, is the information that was submitted by Commissioner Adrian Hayes Santos.
And what got approved? I wasn't around for the midnight hour, and I actually missed the beginning of this evening.
Yeah, and that's part of the transmittal package to the state for the land use part.
So if you could put that in an easy, like, oh, that's it spot, rather than sort of digging through the listings would be good. My other question is this. We still have a TMPA, I do believe. So a lot of this development, transportation management planning area that treats different parts of the city depending on their centrality and how close in they are. With different choices, if you will. Less stringency closer in where there is a lot of development, and more stringency further out. So my question is this: if a fourplex comes in to an established neighborhood, say a 1950s or 60s neighborhood, where the city had very few sidewalks, they're now required of all new single-family subdivisions. And really, if there's no sidewalk on, and I'll stay away from the little private cluster thing, closed thing, will there be a requirement to put in a sidewalk? There's a lot more people coming in, more cars coming in. It's already strange enough for so many people to be walking on the streets. And we're supposedly all about transportation choice. We're looking out for the pedestrian, the cyclist, as well as the motor vehicle. So.
Yes, so the answer is yes. It would require a sidewalk. Actually, the city rules currently require sidewalks for even single-family homes that are in existing neighborhoods. That was something that the commission changed a couple years ago.
Is it really happening?
Yes, it is. It is. When we have an infill lot, even when there's no sidewalk on the street, they have to build a sidewalk on their frontage.
And
the developer does, or the builder does.
And with accessory dwelling units, I think a reality check is that accessory dwelling units are now allowed. So there already is de facto multifamily in single family. Doesn't have to be owner occupied, so you can have 3 units. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. So hopefully this is better. So is that required if somebody is, if an applicant is putting in like 2 accessory dwelling units, whether or not it's owner occupied? Is that happening?
Building a
sidewalks. If there are none there.
That's a good question. I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Okay.
Normally, it's on a where we've dealt with this has been on a infill lot where there's no development at all, and they're building a principal house, and that's when we apply the sidewalk requirement. I'd have to check with staff to figure out if we're also applying that with ADUs.
Because I think we have to have a real discussion over how we're treating existing streets. We certainly don't maintain them very well. We have safe routes to school that are in embarrassing shape, poor maintenance, so a lot to think about. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Oh, thank you, sir. So Mike, I was trying to respond to the GRU.
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
I was trying to respond to the GRU rates. I noticed on my bill, Tier 1 has gone down to 850 kilowatts. So I don't know at what point that happened, but the average is 1,000. And if it was at 1,000, the rates would be different because you'd be charging more kilowatt usage at the lower rate. Do you know when it went down?
So it hasn't been recent. So the 850 has been in place for a couple of years, and actually our customer average is 850. Now that's an annual average, so our average over the whole year, which means in the summer it's higher, but during the overall year the average is 850, and that's where that tiered rate was set. I believe it was several years ago. I'm not sure the exact.
It had to have been 1 year because I pay attention to it, and I just noticed it this month. It's month by month, 850, and it should be 1,000. It's 1,000 across the state. And I'm saying that to the commission, that the next time you have a GRU meeting, Tier 1 should be 1,000. That is the average.
Thank you. Okay, in the back, and then Ty, I'll come to you. In the back, standing up.
Katrina Gainey, and I am a private affordable home builder in East Gainesville. And I've been wanting to talk to you guys for a long time, along with a couple of other builders that I see in here. There's not very many of us that build in East Gainesville. We're private builders. We're not big developers. And I just want to point out the Connect Fee program. I applied for the Connect Fee program 2019, 2020. There was one big developer that came in. He was given $300,000 for his Connect fees. The family that I was building the home for ended up having to pay about $10,000 for their Connect fees. Those Connect fees are pricing people out of their homes. In addition, I wanted to find out how the change is going to affect substandard streets in the Duval area and on the infill lots and the sidewalks. I'm asking the commission to please look at Land Development Code 30-6.18. I've had a permit in permitting since March for a single family home, going back and forth because I'm told I've got to put a sidewalk on a 60-foot piece of land in front of one home. There's no sidewalk on either side of the street. There are no curbs on either side of the street. This will increase the cost of the affordable house. So I'm asking that you please take those things into account when you meet. And I'm told by planning, the commissioners had the opportunities to change this in November, and they decided to table it.
I think what you're saying is, I'm glad that two of my colleagues are here. These are all general policy commission meeting topics that we need to review. So I thank you for sharing that, and we will take it up. Thank you very much.
I'd like to connect with what my neighbor here said.
Oh, okay.
My name is Wendy Free. We live in District 2, Fletcher Heights. We had a house. I'm curious about when this sidewalk ordinance was, became a thing, because we had a house built in our neighborhood, a new house, new construction on an empty lot, and there was no sidewalk put in. It was maybe 2 years ago. So it seems like it's being kind of unequally applied in different parts of the city. I'd also like to ask about the whole reason we're here. We keep being told that this is all about affordable housing. I have not heard one thing about how building more houses and ruining our neighborhoods is going to make it more affordable for anybody. So my question, and I do have a question, okay, especially to the city commissioners who are in support of this plan, who we've trusted and who are currently taking advantage of us in our neighborhoods and making them more unlivable. Yes, but my question is, if we're supposed to believe that this is truly about affordable housing, why haven't we heard anything about it's only going to be for people who have a certain income? Why, it's only going to be by application for people who are under-resourced and people who actually need this help? That's my question. Why haven't we heard anything about that?
I think I would say that the commissioners that were on the losing side of this vote are interested in affordable housing. And what we wanted was to have this start with affordable housing, address affordable housing, define it, where do we need to go, how many we need to build, what we need to build. That's not where it started. That is a reason you need to know who you vote for August 23rd. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tyra. Most of you know me as Ty Loud. But I'm here today to talk about to ask you a question about America's most prominent inequality, which is gentrification. Okay? I am a property manager, and I have been a property manager for low-income housing for probably over 10 years. Okay? And I happen to know that when we talk about exclusionary zoning, we are talking about really gentrification of black people, black neighborhoods, or can I say marginalized neighborhoods? Because when I've worked with plenty of investors and developers, okay? And so the bottom line for them is to make money. That's the bottom line. And right now in Gainesville, we have a really hard time with affordable housing. There are a lot of people in black communities that cannot find places to stay. So I'm not understanding how this is going to help affordable housing, because it's not, and it has been statistics drawn on exclusionary housing in different cities and different towns across America that it actually pushes black neighborhoods out where people can't afford it. Because when developers and investors come in on this, they're there to make money. And segregation becomes a big problem. So how is this going to ensure that there is going to be housing for everyone, just not for people who the investors and the developers is going to come in, because this is a money grab for them. They can't wait until this passes.
Commissioner Chestnut.
Oh.
Can we?
Oh.
Commissioner Chestnut.
I'm trying to see who.
Hello.
Oh.
My name is Raymond Maba. I'm in District 1. And first, I'd like to say I'm very grateful for you taking this opportunity to have this and host this town hall. Right off, I'd just like to say I'm willing to believe that there are enough prudent people in this town, in this community, that given the opportunity, regardless of what this looks like in this moment, we will find our way past this to something that is more inclusionary and more comprehensive and perhaps just better all the way around. I would like to say just a couple of things. I'm a third generation builder. My family's been in this community over 100 years. And my son graduated UF. He co-owns the company. He's a fourth generation builder. We are right in the very process, and I say this for Ms. Gainey as well. We're in the process of construction in East Gainesville. We build East Gainesville, West Gainesville, all over. However, recently we were delayed in the effort to build affordable homes, 8 to 10 homes, Southeast 10th Avenue, right in front of Old Lincoln. At first step, which as a builder, developer, we have to take those steps to find out, what are the criteria, who's got jurisdiction, what it's going to take for us to build. On a very tight budget, trying to build a home under $300,000, a 1,300 square foot heated and cooled 2-car garage. This whole issue with the sidewalks, lighting, I can tell you from my experience building in other counties and other areas that this is not well thought out and in some instances ill-conceived. And that cost becomes a burden to me. We started, we went
Okay,
through
now I
first
want
step.
you to get to, do you have a question?
Yeah, the question is this, with what we're doing right now, if you just give me 30 seconds to say this.
Get to your question.
To ask this. How are we going to make or build or develop affordable houses, regardless of all of this? If the people, whether homes are affordable or not, if the audience that we're trying to serve, this is kind of off in the field, don't have the money, they can't afford the homes anyway. There's such an income deficit and deprivation for those who don't have it. Affordable or not affordable. If I build a home for $100,000, you can't pay for it, you still don't have a home. And that's a conversation we really need to have. We want to take ideas, go find out what it's going to take to get a living wage in Alachua County, in Gainesville, so that if the people had the money, we wouldn't be having this conversation to begin with, because they could afford to buy the home.
You're correct. You're correct. You're correct. So it gets to economic development for Gainesville, but they need more than a living wage. It needs to be higher than a living wage. Yeah, thank you. On the issue of gentrification.
It's a great question. Gentrification is obviously something that the city's been talking about for quite a long time now. I would say, I guess, if we think back to that map I showed, which shows all the single-family zoning by quadrant, the vast majority of single-family zoning is located in Northwest Gainesville. That's where we have the largest concentration of residential single-family 1 through 4 zoning. We do have some single-family zoning in Southeast, in Northeast, in all of the quadrants of Gainesville, but the vast majority is in the Northwest. I do. I think I'm being careful because I don't want to speak for the commission, So I think the idea is behind this, and I've heard a lot of discussion about affordable housing, meaning like housing that's offered at below market rate or at subsidized levels. I've got the city manager coming to my rescue. Do you want to jump in?
Yeah.
Hi, Mr. Shepherd. Look, I think one of the things that Andrew has not said tonight is the following, that in Gainesville, if you take Porter's, which is really already zoned multifamily, most of Duval is already multifamily. Fifth Street is pretty much all multifamily.
And Spring Hill.
And Spring Hill.
Spring Hill.
So most of the areas of color are already multifamily. They're already crowded. They are already concentrated with the conditions that we're talking about. So I think equity is probably where we're headed here, because if you look at property valuations and you take a look at the properties in those areas that I just talked about that are single family, and you compare them with single family homes in Northwest and other areas, I guarantee you that the property appraised value is probably more than $50,000 less than those homes in Northwest. That's where we need to be concentrating. If we're talking about wealth building and we're talking about trying to bring things to a more equitable space, that's true. I hear you loud and clear. I'm just saying that in terms of wealth building and being upfront and equitable about property appraisal, that we need to take a look at its Gainesville-wide, because many of our communities of color are not appraised where they ought to be.
No.
Excuse me.
Thank you. All right.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Okay.
I've been waiting. I've really been waiting.
I'm sorry. I can come to you after we have another presentation. I'll come back to you. I want to now go into the LEAD program for utilities.
So, can you hand me that, Mr. Goldstein, can you hand me that clicker right there? So this kind of happened a little prematurely. I'm going to go through a couple slides real quick, but kind of focus on our LEAP program. So there was a lot of questions about our increased bills, and there's things that we've been trying to do this summer to kind of work through that. So a couple of things Commissioner Chestnut mentioned was home surveys. So you can call GRU, come out, and we'll do like an energy audit. And that energy audit will recommend things that can be done in your home to reduce your basic power use. So there's a question. Do you want me to take a question? Okay, let me go through this first. In addition to that, this summer we've waived the late fees so that there aren't any late fees, as well as deposits. Typically we hold deposits for 24 months. I think just the other day we released deposits back after 12 months to try to get deposits back to folks to help them through. And again, these are small things. These are all small little things to try to help. So I'm going to, sorry about this. So a couple other things, and I know this is hard to hear sometimes, but one of the biggest things any of us can do to have the most immediate impact on our GRU bill is to try to figure out ways to use less energy or less water. And so if you can figure out things to do that, I was talking to somebody the other day, when you leave the house, turn your air up several degrees, things of that nature.
Here.
Do you want me to take?
So if this microphone's on? Okay.
No, just a moment. Just have a seat, please. Have a seat. Have a seat. And would you get the microphone? Who? Yeah. Yeah, get the microphone. Part of what I wanted people to find out about and to get is how they can qualify for the LEAD program. That is very important. It will help in reducing your utility bill. If you could go straight to the LEAD.
It's on there. So Kinzan Hutchinson's coming up. Kinzan is our Chief Customer Officer at GRU. We have a LEAP program and actually have people here today that can help you to sign up for that program to see if you're eligible, which will help reduce those energy bills. So I'm going to let Kinzan take that away.
Good evening, everyone. So just a little bit about the LEAP program. We're so excited to be able to give back to the community and really try to help our community the best way we can to conserve energy. And so a couple things that we have as it relates to LEAP. First is we were given a grant, given money from ARPA, which is $1.9 million over a 3-year period. So we have additional $600,000 a year that we're able to invest back into low income, not even just low income, moderate income, back into homes. So we do have applications here that you can apply for. We have up to $10,000 that we can invest into homes. And what that looks like is we can do air conditioning units, installation, water heaters, caulking, weather stripping, things like that. So we are definitely trying to invest back into our communities. The other thing is it has also been expanded to renters as well. So if you are a landlord, we do have where you rent, you can go through the program as well. So we do have that available for you as well. So, so the first thing is to apply. And then, of course, from that point, it goes through NHDC. There's some income qualification for those who are not renting. So please, if you do want to apply, and then we'll send it off to NHDC, and they will go through the process to grant those individuals who require it. First, you can come to GRU and apply. You can go online, but also we have applications here to everybody. If you want to apply, we can get you signed up tonight. So for income, if it's a household income of one, it's 68,000. Household of two, it's 78,000. Household of three, it's 88,000. And then if it's a household of four, it's 98,000, and it goes up from there. So it is available for you if you need the income. If you are a renter, same. You please do apply. And if you are a landlord, what happens is you have up to 4 apartments that you can actually renovate for your tenants.
Okay, and the applications are in the back?
The applications are in the back. $10,000 for each home.
So,
You can be homeowners or you can be renters. But if you are a renter, you have to have the landlord's approval.
so I hope that you will pick this up in the back and apply, because it's $10,000 that can help you in your home, help you reduce your energy bill.
Or somebody you know.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, you're welcome.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Question? Who did we skip? So go ahead, ma'am.
Hi, I have a question, but it's not for GRU. It was for the gentleman who left.
You didn't leave.
Oh, okay. Oh, there you are.
Give us your name and your district. Your name and your district.
Okay, my name is Bridget Johnson, and I'm in District 4. You said something earlier about if a business developers had put in an application, it wouldn't be accepted right now because this multifamily thing hasn't gone through all the steps.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, my question is regarding Southeast Gainesville. Okay, Southeast Gainesville from Southeast 15th Street to basically South 18th Terrace, there's 16.4 acres of land that the developer is looking at purchasing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they do supposedly have a letter of intent from the county to be able to put a homeless shelter on that property. So if it comes back, and correct me please if I'm wrong.
Sure.
So if the city has voted to pass this, and it goes to the governor for the multifamily development, land use, and then the governor passes it, then it comes back to the county. If they already have a letter of intent, and they're still being allowed to keep their application on file, so then this homeless shelter is gonna go up in the middle of an established neighborhood, which is right across the street from 2 schools.
Can I clarify, is this the property, that's the L-shaped property next to Heartwood?
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay, so I can probably clarify some of that.
Okay.
So there's 2 parcels. There's and that forms the L shape. There's one that runs north-south, and there's one that runs east-west. The city received an application for basically state funding for a 96-unit affordable housing development on the northernmost parcel. The city did not select that development that year for our contribution, because typically with those types of projects, the city may make a local government contribution, usually around $500,000 or so. That year, the city selected Woodland Park Phase 2, which is we had already partially funded Phase 1, and so the city commission selected Woodland Park Phase 2. However, the county did make a local government contribution to that project in the same realm of about $500,000 that year. That development went up to the state, and basically the way it works is the state selects on a lottery system which projects they're going to essentially fund for development. That project was selected, the 96-unit affordable housing development. In that same year, on that east-west property, the other one, the same developer, it's a nonprofit development company called Ability Housing. They made an application, a separate application to the state of Florida for a special needs population funding, which was the homeless component. And in that, it was an 80-unit development. Half of those units would have went to serve homeless individuals. That development was not selected for funding this year at the state. So that project is not going forward. The homeless part of it is not going forward. The other property I mentioned first, the 96-unit affordable housing, that's just family housing. It doesn't have any homeless or any special needs. That did get funded by the state. There was a county contribution, and that project is presumably moving forward. But the homeless part is not. Yes, on 15, right, it's on the northern, the longer property that runs north-south. I believe they're 3-story garden apartments.
You need to go to the county commission. The city commission has nothing to do with that.
We didn't.
You need to go to the county commission.
Yeah.
And go to the county
Yeah.
commission to ask questions about it.
No.
No, it's not a city project. The county funded it at about $500,000.
Yeah, the city has nothing to do with that project. You need to go to the county commission. Yeah.
Thank you for. All right. Thank you, Andrew. Andrew, you're aware that for 20 years I sat through the meetings, and so are others. The gentleman leaving is aware also. I stopped going to public meetings because I found that the receptivity was less for me than it was for development interests, large, out of town. Mr. Persons is fully aware of my concerns for the last 20 years. When a plan came forward that my view was not hatched here, and I think the data shows was hatched somewhere, we all got lost in it. Now my question is very simple, one for the utility also. I'm aware that we moved forward with a plan that nobody understood, and we had a lot of meetings, and I went to them. A lot of you didn't. I was there, night after night, day after day, when people were confused. People from Porters came in and said, what on earth is going on? I'm also aware from what the city manager has said, with all due respect, that there's got to be equity here. I'm glad she's arrived here. Glad she understands equity. I do too. Neighborhoods that may not be zoned single family are highly stable in this community. Out of the 6,000 communities in the United States, I did some research, and the radical view that we have here that came about because of one commissioner and a commission that is unresponsive is not the popular view of the United States of America, and less so in towns that are new. We're old. We developed. We have existing neighborhoods, whether the family zoning is exactly right or not, they're highly stable. This is equity. We live where we want.
That's right.
Now, the city manager has a slightly problematic view because she's got a 4-3 split commission. And she's on the side of the majority because she said, you got to understand. No, I don't. I do understand. I understand it better. You all understand it better. You wouldn't be here tonight. So what we have is, and what I'm asking Mr. Persons is, when you looked at the study that was handed to you that was paid for, did you find that the other cities in these United States, by any majority or any number, were doing what we're doing? And my second question is for the manager of the utility. All utilities that are monopolies are going to overcharge. A monopoly is just a monopoly. That's all it is. The only way you're going to get rid of a monopoly is the way it was talked about tonight with solar. Did you, Mr. Persons, bring in the utility, because the future is not going to be wires running overhead. It's going to be batteries out back. It's going to be solar on the roof. They're not ready for it. Does this plan that you put forward have their endorsement? 2 questions. Thank you.
So to the first question, I think as the city manager alluded to, we would be the first in Florida to do this. There are a few communities in the country, typically larger cities like Seattle, Minneapolis. A few states have made some reforms, but we would be the first in Florida to do this. To the second question, I guess the utilities are involved in the development review process. I don't know if there's like a endorsement of the utility for policy action outside of the obviously majority of the city commission.
Because the way we're going to develop utilities, the way we're going to develop this housing is going to be not on the monopoly grid. It's going to be individual setups. We now have batteries announced last week that can take care of housing.
Yeah. I think what but tonight has shown us more than anything else. We're not ready. We need more players at the table. More players at the table. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Kim, you want to take the mic? Thank you. Just bring his mic. That was Mark Goldstein, former mayor of Gainesville, speaking.
I'd like to echo the gentleman who thanked you, Commissioner Chestnut, for having a town hall where people can ask real questions, and for hearing that we need more information to do something that has never been done in the state of Florida, and in fact is not like what was done in Minneapolis. And Minneapolis is finding that it's not creating affordable housing by what modest changes it's made, which are less than what we have just voted on, what the majority has just voted on. 2 observations and 2 questions. The first observation is that a new developer who puts 60 feet of sidewalk in front of a house in an existing neighborhood will not make a safe walking experience. We can't do this on the cheap. If you really want safe streets, the city has to build complete sidewalks throughout a neighborhood for them to be safe.
Common sense.
Second, I hope that the city attorney will give all of the citizens a written opinion about the Burt-Harris Act, which is the act that means that once a city has been upzoned, you have to pay every property owner if you downzone it. It's my understanding that that now applies not just to properties that are in the process of development, but to absolutely every property. So as soon as this goes into effect, based on the attorneys I've talked to, who are land use attorneys, the city will owe every single citizen thousands of dollars if it changes its mind after 5 years.
Yep. That's true. Take that. That's true.
The third observation is I'm among the, 50 or 60 or 200 people who have followed this closely, and I have never heard the city talk about cottage neighborhoods at all. And the fact that it found its way into Commissioner Hayes-Santos' alternative ordinance is really stunning to me. And the county, folks in the county, neighbors in the county do not like what's happening there, so I think that that will be a problem for us too. And finally, a question for Mr. Persons, and that has to do with the map that you're showing of quadrants. You have made a map that shows the percentage of single-family land in each of the quadrants of the city, which suggests that 61% of new quadruplexes, or whatever that percentage is, would go in the Northwest. But in fact, the relevant map that you need to overlay is the map that shows where there is vacant land, which is in the East. What that means is that although, for instance, the Southeast has only 11% of the land, zoned land, it has probably 60%, looking at it visually, of the vacant land, so it will be way more disproportionately affected even than we would imagine. And I think that I guess if we consider so that's a question, let me just stop there, sorry. So the question would be, what percentage of the land in the vacant land is in Southeast Gainesville? What percentage of the vacant land is in Northeast Gainesville? Thank you.
I don't have that offhand with a percentage.
That's really the only question. Thank you.
No. Can't.
Can you pass him?
Back on the back. Okay, I'm coming to you. Okay, everyone, this one has been over here for a while. No, behind you in the black dress.
Yes, Pamela Clark, University Park. And there's just an analogy I keep seeing. I love the holidays. I hope to have many family members come this year. I'm going to shop at Publix, save my coupons, make my recipes, set the table, put out my grandmother's napkins, light candles. I can see it. It's huge. It's going to be beautiful. Kumbaya. My kids will hate it, but I'll love it. And then I walk into the kitchen to prepare the meal, and guess what? I have no stove, my oven's not working, the refrigerator is on the fritz, and this kind of smells like that. It seems as though the vision is beautiful. These pictures in this PowerPoint that you can see on the paper, my goodness, this is just, I want to live there. But you think it's going to really look like that when it's stacked and stacked and stacked? And cars are parked on top of cars? How is that going to work? It's not going to work. That's the bottom line of it. And as I'm looking at these quadrants that Ms. Tanzer spoke about, I'd like to know which quadrant is going to be targeted, and I'm using that word purposely. Which quadrant will be targeted first and why? Yes. Good. And my last question is, Mr. Parsons, do you live in Gainesville? I do. I don't know if we can ask that. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Joe Beatty, and I am a candidate for City Commission District 2, so if any of you are in District 2, I'd like to speak to you afterwards. If you're not in District 2, part of the reason that I ran is to educate the public. I've been in City Hall trying to argue and fight for all of us for 15 years. I have a record. You can see what my comments are. My question is, I'm always talking about procedure. We're here tonight. You just started off with what's going to happen in the transmittal. I thought the transmittal wasn't going to happen until after the second vote. There was a lot of talk at the meeting on Thursday about bring back information in this, and can we sunset it, and maybe we want to do this and that. So how can you transmit something that you have all these questions about still? As everybody said, as the petition say that everybody signed, is the public hasn't been involved. So the question is, or it's a request, we have 3 commissioners here. You can call a special meeting. I think you should call a special meeting and see if you can redo that vote, get questions answered, get more input, maybe after all the hopefully bruising that the 4 people got. Maybe one of them's going to wake up with a headache and maybe they'll flip their vote. I really ask the 3 of you that are here tonight to call a special meeting and let's see if we can do a do-over before you transmit this to the state. And you're wasting time. You have spent so much time doing this stuff in these that you've been neglecting, not you, the commission as a whole, that you've taken time, you haven't taken care of things that could be done, the low-hanging fruit that would help people who are hurting now. And so anybody from District 2 wants to talk to me, anybody from any district, I will tell you what I've learned over 15 years, and I'd ask for your vote, but it's a public meeting.
Thank you. It has not. Wait, Jane.
Okay. My name is Pat Best. I'm not sure what district I'm in. I'm where the big X on the map is between 39th and 34th, so I get to hear all the good fire engines and other exciting traffic during rush hour. But I had just a couple of questions because it seemed like this plan did not take into account all the infrastructure. Some of that was already mentioned. Plus, I'm expecting with all these empty builds that are already out there, that, and I'm imagining with the rents not just going up here, but in places like Tampa, there's people that are losing their low rent areas and they're on fixed income. So guess where they're going to come? And that's going to further push out the people we have that can't afford. And the job I have, part of the responsibility is that we screen people for what we call a household benefit. And so we help with some of these bills like household or utility. And I'm just very concerned that this is just going to snowball. And I see the development going out towards the prairie, because if you go down Northwest 13th, all those little tiny little strip malls are going away, and they're throwing up garages. But the one question I have is, can we have some common place that we can see, like a map, where all the developers that are from out of state have pieces of our city? I have family that live in a street off the road of death, 34th, that live in an apartment building, and they're renovating, but I see the kids there playing in puddles, and there's just no place for them to safely play. And so you're going to build tiny little micro apartments that are stacked up like those containers that you see out on the coast where people bring in stuff. And I just think it's not going to just look bad, and we're not even taking account the environment. We have sinkholes, we have areas that already flood. None of this has been taken into consideration, and I think we're just going to regret it if we just plow forward. Thank you.
I'm Robert Mounts, formerly of University Park, immediate past president of the University Park Neighborhood Association. I want to get, some of us who have been following this for a long time, Andrew, still don't know quite what was passed Thursday night. It's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, that the 4-3 vote passed the amendment to the comprehensive plan, but the staff's recommendation. That's what Adrian Santos said. And that they also passed his alternate ordinances implementing it. That's the first question. And if so, does that include the provision for cottage, bungalow, tiny house development in a minor subdivision, which, and I have to wonder, how big a lot do you have to get a minor subdivision and one of those bungalow courts? And then the last question is a simple one. You said earlier that the residential low density area would allow up to 12 units per acre, but your slide says 15. What's up with that?
So the residential low density does allow 15. That's the land use. The zoning that the commission adopted that is proposed is 12 units per acre. So that's the difference. What was your first question, Bob? Sorry. Oh, about the ordinance. So so it's the alternate. It's the residential low density for the land use, and then for the zoning and the land development code, the third ordinance, it was the Hay Santos alternate. So it included the cottage neighborhoods portion as well. So that could go anywhere? It's right. It's basically changing how subdivisions can be, how you can create lots. Instead of creating them only on a street, public or private, you can create a lot off of common open space, basically. Sorry. So, I mean, you would have to still create buildable lots, meaning you would have to meet those lot dimension standards that I mentioned before. So it would have to be basically, if it was neighborhood residential, let's say in the future, it would have to be 35 foot wide. It would have to be 30,000 square feet. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, we're going to have 3 more questions, and then we're going to have to bring this to a close. Wait just a moment. I'm going to get to you. All right, start. Darlene, then, yes, and then we'll end with Tana Silva. Darlene.
Thank you, Commissioner. One thing I have a question on, I had Darlene Pafalo, excuse me. That's okay. I can stand. That's okay. Actually, it feels good to stand. I have a question. I had talked, because this really, as a realtor, concerns I'm not going to say out of me. I know. That's why I didn't say anything. Thank you, Lord. But I just, if we're the first one in the state to do this, that's number 1, crazy, and we were only number 2 with a biomass plant, and look how that worked out and how much it cost us. There's no common sense to this whole thing that everybody's given their time where none of us are getting paid here. I'm not anyway, I know. But I just don't understand how you can eliminate single-family homes. Government, and I say this with respect, has to get out of everybody's business. Out of the real estate business. You don't even know what real estate is. It's just like I talked to the mayor, and he was talking about, well, you know, it's really good. It's not going to affect values. Well, it is going to affect values. I've been a realtor here since I've been a realtor a long time, let's put it that way. Almost 50 years. You don't think I've seen some changes? Got my license in 1973. But I can tell you that this is outrageous to eliminate single-family homes. Everybody's talking about over the north side. Well, you know what? Develop goes where the businesses are, and businesses go where the development is. And then when I moved here in 1985, you know, everybody was going to the northwest because that's where the businesses were, and that's where people wanted to work and live in the same area. I've been on a lot of different commissions with the city, and one of the things that I'll let you know, we did a study with the city of, okay, sorry, I get carried away, but that's okay. Well, it's just, I just think the commission needs to put the brakes on and stop this and say no, period. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jess Larson. Okay, so I'd like to actually say some things that would hopefully captivate enough people in the room's interest that they all actually listen, because I'm talking to each one of you. I have a question to ask everybody in the room, not just some of the representatives that are here that I will also direct some questions at. I don't think I'm going to get multiple chances at the microphone, so I think I should kind of load in a bank of questions, even if they're not. Okay, so I don't want my question for GRU to get answered till I ask the community my questions, because I assume you'll be able to remember what I asked you, as is the. So for GRU, is there any reason that we couldn't do the same thing that's being done in Orlando right now for the bill, where they don't have to pay up all the bills until later in the fall when we all get our football economy or fall-time economy on, and effectively, instead of just not having late fees, to just not have a deadline until, you know, maybe November 5th or October, whichever they're going to send it off to the state, or however that goes. So that's the one question. The other question I have for GRU is that our current revenue stream for the city of Gainesville's budgetary expenses comes not just from the business that GRU conducts with selling utilities to the community, but also with a business that GRU conducts borrowing money. Could we borrow more money quicker now to not have these burdens today, understanding that we were ultimately going to have a financial crisis down the road that we're going to have to deal with? And I'm just asking if that crisis can come sooner so that today we can be relieved, because clearly there's a plan to have a crisis in the future financially for the city that we're all just spending. I mean, it reminds me of when my sister, who went to high school with the mayor, and they all had the credit cards. My parents wouldn't let me have a credit card ever in my life because of what my sibling did with her credit card.
What is your question?
So those were two questions. Was, can GRU allow us to pay later in the fall, and can GRU lower our just bill totally by allowing us to go quicker into debt yearly? And then my question for the community is that, you know, I have a background working with other campaigns. I was formally trained with United for Care for patient rights advocacy. And so I would like to ask everybody here if I can tell you, about one of the ladies who came to the commission meeting to speak that did not get a chance to speak on the later side. She spoke earlier, from what I understand, and I think it has to do with what was also mentioned, where there's statutory requirements about notice of when the meeting might not have been met. So my question for the city attorney would be, did they meet the requirements? That's question number 3 that showed up in my statement. Question number 4, which is for the community, is the lady said that her house is near University Avenue and that she's facing a forced demolition upon her house. She really wanted to save her house. I would be willing to go stand with her and try to save the house. If they need the lawn mowed so that they're not going to have a code violation, I'll do it. You want to cut some branches? Would anybody else here be interested in being a community together with her and me to save all of our houses? Because I think after her house, first it's the house of straw, then it's the house of sticks, and then they come for the house of bricks. And that's all my questions, so you can have the microphone back.
Thank you so much, Jess. Thank you so much. All right, Tana.
So that was 4 questions, if any of them can get answered.
Where's the house, Jess, that's being demolished above? You don't have it? Okay, Joe has, okay, we have it. Thank you, we have it, Joe has it. Okay, our final question, Tana Silva.
Okay, I'm Tana Silva, and I'm a proud voter in District 1, and I live just, right across the churchyard from here. I have been there for 27 years. And I can tell you that some of this that's being proposed for everybody's neighborhoods is already happening in Pleasant Street, where for some reason, in Pleasant Street, you get the setbacks that, for big houses that take up the entire property with no yard, and they can be very expensive. Our houses are going now for $450,000 to $500,000 in Pleasant Street. And already I don't understand this. I mean, it's been a bad deal from the beginning, starting more than 4 years ago, to try to push this through. It's a political thing. It really is. The city already allows 2 accessory dwelling units plus a house on every residential property in the city. They passed that 2 years ago. And one of them is going to be built just a block from here. The next block over is going to be a 1,600-something square foot 2-story house. It's going to have an 850 square foot ADU, as they're called, attached to it. It's going to have another 850 square foot ADU that's not attached to it. It's going to have a 1 or 2 car garage. It's not going to be affordable. It's going to be an Airbnb, I guarantee it. The Historic Preservation Board has an application to demolish Plumbers. I'm sorry, I'm slinging this thing around like a weapon. The city is about to allow the demolition of Plumbers barbershop. Yeah, and that owner, who owns 4 other properties in Pleasant Street, is petitioning to build an Airbnb, a company Airbnb. Across the street from me, where our neighbor passed away, she had a reverse mortgage, and as so many families in the neighborhood did, and they got ripped off, and the families lost the houses. Now that's rented recently for $1,900 a month, and it's going to be turned into a high-end Airbnb. Where the houses are getting the setbacks, waived and building right up the street, they have no yards. Not only that, they're cutting down centuries old, some of the oldest live oak trees in the city of Gainesville, and putting a little sprinkling of gravel around the edge. This is what you're going to get in all these neighborhoods if this thing passes, and I think it's disgraceful. I think it's really a disgrace, because the city commission has not allowed any real input from the communities at all. They've done a shell game to try to hide it and to keep the public out, and they've used public resources, massive public resources, to pass something that is only going to benefit the people who can afford to build these multifamily apartments with no income restrictions on them at all. And it's happening in Pleasant Street now with already the ADUs and the setbacks and all of that. And people are not able to afford it, and they won't be able to afford it. It's not about affordability, it's not about equity, and it's certainly not about civic participation in a democratic government.
Thank you. Thank you. Now we've come to the end of our evening. I want to thank everyone for participating and for your questions. You've given a lot for the city commissioners. You've given a lot for us to work on, to take back, and to look forward. Well, perhaps we can. Perhaps we can. Perhaps we can. I want to make an announcement. I see we had another candidate join us. Christian? Oh. Yeah. Christian Newman, that's District 4. We want to remind you to turn in your comment cards. Everyone, we appreciate your questions. We appreciate your attention. And I want to announce before we close, Souls to the Polls is on Sunday. 515 North Main Street. That's the Supervisor of Elections parking lot is where it's going to be. Evelyn Fox, you want to talk about it? The NAACP is sponsoring this. Wait just a moment.
Okay, for the very reason we are here tonight, we elected the wrong people to represent us. They are not listening to us at all. So, no, they don't represent us at all. So it's very important that we vote for the people that's going to listen to the people who voted them in. But we're going to have gubernatorial candidates and all from the state level down. We'll be there Sunday, and you'll have a chance to talk to them as well. So 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock, and dinner will be served. So come, we have some good entertainment, so we invite all of you to come. Thank you.
515 North Main Street, 515 North Main Street, and you should all come out to hear the candidates. Now, the comment cards are in the back, and some over here. We have comment cards, and we ask you to join us in the back if you'd like some refreshments, to pick up the GRU bags. And Kenzion, you're going to say something else about GRU.
Real quickly, so we do have LEAP applications in the back, so if you are interested in signing up for LEAP, please, please, please come see us in the back. And then also, if you have questions about your utility bills, we do have some folks in the back to assist you with your utility bills if you have questions. And lastly, the gentleman in the green shirt, Jess, I know you asked a question about deferring being disconnected. Well, we do have installment plans that will help the same way, that we can defer payments over time, and that way you're not being disconnected. So if you have any other questions about that, I can assist you after as well.
Thank you. Jess, just come in the back, Jess. So I want to thank everyone, and I want to thank the city. I want you all to give the city staff a hand. The city IT department worked miracles. They're up above you. But they have done an excellent job in putting this together. The clerk's office has done an excellent job in just putting it all together for you and in providing the information in the back. So give them a hand. Join us in the back for light refreshments.
One for Cynthia.
And to complete the comment cards. And with that, good evening. Thank
Let's hear it for Cynthia.